Hello and welcome to the Make More Placements podcast. Today, in this episode, we're going to be covering an episode called Firing Recruiting Clients, 4 Signs You Should Let Them Go. So firing recruiting clients, 4 signs you should let them go. So if you're listening live in the Facebook group, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, wherever, give us in the comment section, put the word live. If you're watching the replay, write the word replay as well. That helps us with 2 things. One, lets us know who's listening and where you're listening in from. Also helps with the algorithm as well to help more recruitment and search business owners see these episodes. We believe that it really help them and help you and your businesses. So the more people that see it, the better. Quick reminder that this episode and all future episodes are sponsored by Placement Box. Placement Box is the world's leading AI-powered client attraction tool built specifically for recruitment, staffing, and executive search business owners. And it's packed full of purpose-built client attraction tools ready to plug and play into your business so you can start attracting more clients the same day you use them. The tool that we use with all of our clients, strongly recommend it. You can find out more about that by going to placementbox.io. As I said before, in this episode, we're covering firing recruiting clients, 4 signs you should let them go. Terry, before we sort of jump into the 4 signs or 4 things, obviously, normally on this podcast, we're talking about, things you need to do to bring in more clients or things you need to do to make more placements. This is obviously the opposite way to look at it. I guess, why isn't it important to know or be aware of signs that someone's a bad client or signs that you should let a client go?
Yeah, I think, speaking as a former recruiter, I think one of the biggest telltale signs is when your mobile phone goes off, you look at who it is calling you, and it either fills you with dread, it's a hiring manager that fills you with dread, or it's a hiring manager that's a pleasure to talk to. We all know those hiring managers, when you see their number, it's like, oh, shoot, what's this call about? Because they just fill you with dread. At a level, emotionally, they're draining. They don't value, they don't respect you. And there is nothing worse than, looking at your phone and thinking, do I really want to take this call? Have I got time for this individual right now? And it creates this conflict because you're thinking, this is a client, I'm rewarded financially for delivering to this client. But honestly, I don't enjoy working with them. They're an absolute pain in the butt. And by the same token, there's also those clients that you work with and they're absolute joy. If you look very closely at those clients who are a pain in the butt and those clients are the joy, there's some very familiar things going on. There's some patterns already in both cases. My humble opinion, life's too short to be working with shitty clients, quite frankly. And we'll go into more detail, some of the things that clients can do that when you kind of question that. Does that give you a sort of broad overview, Drew, of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, it does. I think as well with bad clients or with nightmare clients, they're a drain on your time, energy, and resources. I think the more or the less you can work with those type of clients, and the more you can sort of push them away from your business and repel them, the more time, energy, and resources you have to work on attracting better, bigger, and clients that you enjoy working with. And I think as well, I think to add, if you've ever fired a client before, you've ever been the one to cut ties, it's one of the most freeing and liberating exercises you can do. I think.
Yeah.
Terry, anything you want to add to that? Because I
100%.
know obviously we've done it a few times.
Yeah,
I know
I just agree with you 100% there. When you do fire that shitty client, it is so liberating. And you don't realise the weight that you're carrying around, that you've been carrying around unconsciously, and you've now said, hey, listen, and the way I used to word it, I'm probably not the right person for you, and I'm really sorry, but I don't think this is going to work, and just letting them go.
Yeah.
It, as you said, Drew, liberating is the precise word for it. It really is.
100%. So look, let's dive into it. So 4 ways. So number one is they have a lack of respect for your expertise. So the first sign that you should be cutting ties or firing a client is they have a lack of respect for your expertise. Terry, a few questions for you. Like one, what do we mean by that? Second question is, why is it important to, I guess, push people away who have a lack of your expertise, and how can that present itself for, if there's a recruitment business owner listen to this, how can it be presenting itself possibly in their business right now?
Yeah. So we've all been there, sadly, as recruiters, where the hiring manager treats you like nothing more than the hired help, and they're not seeking guidance and advice from you. They're literally telling you how to do your job. And we've all been there as recruiters. I'm going to extremes now, where a hiring manager says, "Yeah, I want to recruit a CEO, and we're going to pay them 50,000 or whatever the currency is." And everybody knows that's a ridiculously low salary, or so part of the job spec is just ridiculous. We want a candidate that can walk on water 7 days a week and that type of thing. We've all had those kind of job specs. And when you're encouraging the hiring manager to consider what they're saying and look, can we sit down? Can we talk about this? Can we give you an overview of the market? And they're just dismissing it, and they've got no respect whatsoever for your opinion. That's time to run, quite frankly, because that's an early sign that this client's going to be a pain in the butt, because they're asking you to do the impossible and they don't respect your opinion whatsoever. And look, I'm not saying that all recruiters are right and all hiring managers are wrong, but at the very least have the decency. Let's have a conversation about it and let's get some data. Let me bring some data to you that supports, example, a CEO of 50,000 for a multi-billion organization is unrealistic. I'm going to extremes, admittedly, but you get the point. They have no respect whatsoever for your opinion. It's an awful situation to be in. Anything to add to that, Drew?
Yes.
Sorry, buddy. Were you hanging on to my every word so much so that you fell asleep there, Drew?
Well, no, you just kept talking. You just maybe a conversation.
I finished the sentence.
Yeah, but normally we say anything you want to add to that, as you just did after about 45 minutes. Anyway, okay, so yeah, agree 100% with what you said, even though it was a long time ago now. But one of the things I'd add to that is that I think, I think if a client or a hiring manager's come to you to help them fill a particular vacancies because they haven't been able to fill it themselves, right? Obviously, it's very, very important to remember that you're the expert. You're the one with they're good at what they do. When they're in their realm, they're experts in that. You're the expert in what you do, which is the recruitment process. I think one of the worst things you can do is let the hiring manager or let the client dictate how that recruitment process should go. Because what happens is, and the reason I feel so strongly about this is what happens is if you let them dictate what's going to happen, then it's going to impact the results, right? And when they get bad results because of what they've told you to do, it's still going to be you that takes the blame, right? So if you're experienced in this field, which you should be if you're a business owner, you need to take control of the situation, take control of the process, and it needs to be your expertise that is leading that process, right? And if a client isn't willing to respect that, then you probably shouldn't be working with that client. Terry, anything you want to add to that? That's how it's done.
Yeah, and you remind me years ago when we used to sometimes help our clients, recruiters, with their copywriting, and we're both Drew and I are skilled copywriters. We've been trained in it and whatever, and every now and then you'd get a recruiter saying, "Well, I don't think that copy is going to work," and this is what I want to say instead. I want to talk all about our business, and I want to tell them how great we are. And copywriters know that's the last thing you do is talk about yourself. And again, it can be really frustrating when the recruiters say, "No, I want you to say that, and what you said there isn't going to work." And I came to the realization, and it was quite frustrating at times, that their opinions based on their personal opinion. It's not a statement of fact when they say this doesn't work. Whereas what I'm sharing with them is based on years and years of data as the type of copywriting that does work. And it's exactly the same for you as a recruiter. And I think the other thing about lack of respect, there's a saying, isn't there? How you are treated by anybody is just merely a reflection of how you allow yourself to be treated. So if you're complaining about the hiring manager having lack of respect for you, you do need to look in the mirror and say, actually, what does it say about me? What is it that I'm doing that's allowing this? Because at the end of the day, nobody holds a gun to your head saying you've got to work with that shitty client. You can walk away at any time that you want to, but you have to acknowledge that it's a choice, and you're in control of that choice as well. So that's number one, lack of respect for the client. Number two is unreasonable demands and expectations. This is another red flag when clients are making unreasonable demands and expectations. Again, we use a CEO. We want a CEO for this role. We're going to pay you 50,000. Well, that's reasonably unreasonable. That's reasonably unreasonable, isn't it? And we want you to get the shortlist to us in the next 24 hours, and that type of thing. And unreasonable expectations, again, Drew made a really good point earlier in the last one. If you don't meet those expectations, those unreasonable expectations, then the finger's been pointed at you. So it's a really important one when you're getting clients or hiring managers that are making unreasonable demands or expectations on you.
Yep.
What would you add to that, Drew?
Again, I think spot on. I think it's probably one of the most common ways it appears, and it's linked to number one, right? Because the reason they have unreasonable expectations is because they're not listening or respecting your expertise, right? So they're putting their own expectations on your expertise and what results you should deliver in what time span. And obviously, again, going back to number one, you need to be the one that dictates the expectations, and maybe be clear with the client what the expectations are, but not let them dictate them. And I think there's lots of ways this can present itself, but some of the ones that spring to mind are that they want, again, time spans is a very big one. That the salary's too low. They want, they want the best person on the market. I think another one that we didn't really talk about before this call is that they want exclusivity to your candidates, but aren't prepared to give you exclusivity back the other way, right? So this can happen when, obviously, look, if you're working retained, then obviously, normally it's written into the terms. But sometimes I see contingency recruiters who are working with clients, and the client wants, send me the best candidates and send them just to me, and they get annoyed when you send them to your competitors as well. When if it's on a contingency agreement, then that's obviously that's what they should expect. That's what you should be allowed to do. So that's a few ways that it can present itself. Terry, anything to add to that?
Nothing to add to that. You've hit the nail on the head there, as they say.
Perfect. So moving on to number 3, again, just to recap quickly. Number 1 is lack of respect for your expertise. Number 2 is unreasonable demands and expectations. Number 3 is failure to communicate or provide necessary information. So failure to communicate or provide necessary information. Terry, can you explain, I guess, what we mean by that, and why and how it can impact your business?
Yeah, I'm going to put as a former recruiter, there was, in my opinion, nothing more frustrating than you get the job order between you and the hiring manager. You've agreed what the hiring manager is looking for. You've gone off and searched for those type of candidates. You present those type of candidates, and then the hiring manager says, "Oh yeah, but what we also need is some experience in X, Y, Z, or they must have done this previously, or whatever it is." And halfway through the project, they've changed it, and then you say, "But that wasn't on the original job spec," and they say, "Oh no, but we had an internal meeting. Internally we agreed, the board agreed that this is the skill sets that we need for this role, but it was never communicating to you." That's an impossible task. That's like going into a boxing ring with both hands tied behind your back, against a heavyweight champion in the world. There's no way that you can win on this. There's no way that you can succeed when they're not communicating what's going on. Well, another one for me as a recruiter is they say this is going to be the interviewing process. So there's 2 interviews and maybe a presentation. They do the 2 interviews, they do the presentation, they say, "Oh, we just need the candidate to meet this person. We just need them to go to this department." Before you know it, the candidate's gone through 7 interviews. Again, not communicating. Not only is it frustrating for you as a hiring manager, but incredibly frustrating for the candidate as well. And again, when this happens, it looks badly on you as the recruiter. The candidate's saying, "This recruiter doesn't know what's going on." But the fact is, it just was never communicated to you. If it's never communicated to you, how can you communicate to anybody else? So it's another sign when they're not communicating what's really going on, not communicating what they're really thinking. It's an impossible task. It really is. Anything you'd add to that, Drew?
No, again, I think that's spot on. I think, you've hit it on the head there. So again, just to recap, number 1, lack of respect of your expertise. Number 2, unreasonable demands and expectations. And 3, failure to communicate and provide necessary information. Which brings on to number 4, which, again, all of these are linked, but I think this one, for me, puts all of these in, sort of brings all these together. And that's number 4 is lack of mutual respect and trust. So lack of mutual respect and trust. Terry, again, can you explain what we mean by that and some of the impacts it can have on your business if you don't have this?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, a client told us this story where he called a hiring manager. The hiring manager was in a meeting, but the hiring manager said to the recruiter, "Listen, just one second, let me just finish this conversation." And then carried on the conversation with those in the meeting and said something like, "Oh, it's just a recruiter on the phone. They can wait." A clear sign of lack of trust. And my client at the time, she was pretty, as you can imagine, pretty pissed off about it. And as I said to us, "Did you challenge him on what he said?" She goes, "No, I didn't." You can see the problem with that. If he sees you, or he or she, doesn't matter, the hiring manager is just another recruiter with no respect, they're warning sign, they're red flags there and then. They've got no respect for you. "Oh, it's just another recruiter." You're working your guts off trying to find the candidates list, and they're saying, "Oh, it's just another recruiter." That kind of relationship's never ever going to work. It's a bit like, any type of relationship. If the other person hasn't got any mutual trust or respect for you, it's never going to work, ever. It's an impossible task. And you not challenging them on that, or insisting on carrying on working with them, you're just making a rock for your own back, quite frankly. Over to you, Drew.
No, 100%. I think one of the things you touched on there is, immediate red flag. I think, all of the things we covered today, including this one, yes, they can happen when you're already working with a client, you're already engaged in that agreement. But I think a lot of the times the signs are there before you take the client on as well. So just to be aware of that. But I think it can present itself in many ways, right? It could be the fee that they're asking you to do the work for. It could be the terms that they're getting you to agree to. It could be them just showing up late to every meeting. And obviously, look, sometimes accidents happen, things happen. But we hear stories of recruiters traveling to meet potential clients or clients, and like they travelled hours to meet the client, and last minute the client pulls the plug and cancels, or the client doesn't show up. Right? It's things like that where there's a clear. The clients could create a clear hierarchy, right? They're here and you're below them, right? They're above you. And I think you want to have it so, and Terry used term earlier, you want to have it so you're not the hired help, right? You're on a partnership with the client to help reach a mutual goal, right? You both want to find the best candidate for the role. And I think the minute a client loses respect or doesn't treat you with respect, and sometimes I don't want to put it all on the client. Sometimes it comes from the recruiter. Sometimes when there's a relationship where you sort of undervalue yourself, right? You're delivering the service, the client's providing the money, and you value the money above your service, right? Rather than seeing it as an equal exchange, right? So sometimes we have problems where hiring managers put clients on a pedestal, right? And when you put someone on a pedestal, the only choice they have is to look down on you, right? And this creates this dynamic of them looking down on you and you looking up to them. And it's probably one of the things that allows yourself to, should I say, to get treated with lack of respect, where you're not getting the fee you deserve, or the client's changing the terms mid thing, or they're paying late, or they're not turning up to meetings, or they're just messing you about, or the cancel the job order, not even telling you, right? I see that quite a lot as well.
Yeah.
They cancel the job order, you carry on working on it, you find the best candidate, the right candidates, and they say, "Oh, look, things have changed. We're not even hiring anymore." Right? There's lots of ways to present itself, but you need to be very, very aware so you can do something about it, right? And again, sometimes this happens while you work with a client and you need to fire them, but a lot of the times it happens, as you're engaging in that relationship, as you're moving down the process, right? So you need to be aware of the red flags, right? So again, just to recap very quickly, we've got 1, lack of respect for your expertise; 2, unreasonable demands and expectations; 3, failure to communicate or provide necessary information; and 4, lack of mutual respect and trust. Terry, anything to add to that before we wrap up?
Yeah, and we appreciate that sometimes to end these relationships it can be difficult, but it's essential that you do for your own mental well-being and also for your own self-esteem and self-respect. But what we've done here is highlighted some of the signs that what's going on. But you must be prepared to take the necessary action to put a stop to it. So you either challenge them on what they're doing, tell them that you find it unacceptable. If they continue to do it, be prepared to walk away. And I want to, we'll say prepared to walk away. You need to acknowledge at some level that there is an abundance of business out there. There's probably more business out there than you can handle.
Yeah.
So don't have this attitude as well. They're the client. The client's always right. Which, by the way, is BS. The client can't always be right. That's the most ridiculous statements I've ever heard. A client's always right. They can't be all the clients right all the time. It's just impossible. And it's important that you have the right relationship that's mutually beneficial to both parties, and that's really important as well. And if it's a win-lose relationship, that is not mutually beneficial to both parties. Anything to add to that, Drew? Oh, Drew, is your mic on?
So I went off. No, I haven't got anything to add. I think you hit the nail on the head.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Listen, thank you very much for joining us today. Just to remind you, this is sponsored by placementbox.io, a CRM system designed for recruiters. By the way, it's a system that we use ourselves. We swear by it, and a lot of our clients do as well. Thank you very much for joining us today. Until next time, folks, take care, take action, be relentless.